African astrology differs from Western astrology in that it is based on ancestral symbols of African culture. The Baobab Tree, the wealth of amber and silver, the family, small services to the neighborhood, the market, the ancestor, the judge. Just as it is believed that man started his life in Africa, so it is believed that African astrology is one of the oldest forms of astrology known to man based on ancient African traditions of studying the stars and planets around us, and offers guidance after analyzing the strengths and weaknesses you have, helping you to understand your life in a different light and providing a path to improving it. Early evidence of such practices appears as markings on bones and cave walls, which show that lunar cycles were being noted as early as 25,000 years ago, the first step towards recording the moon's influence upon tides and rivers, and towards organizing a communal calendar. With the Neolithic agricultural revolution, new needs were also met by increasing knowledge of constellations, whose appearances in the nighttime sky change with the seasons, allowing the rising of particular star groups to herald annual floods or seasonal activities. The history of mathematics in Africa. The history of mathematics has its roots on the African continent. The oldest mathematical object was found in Swaziland, Africa. The oldest example of arithmetic was found in Zaire. The 4,000-year-old Moscow papyrus contains geometry from the Middle Kingdom of Egypt. Egypt was the cradle of mathematics. The great Greek mathematicians, including Pythagoras, Thales, and Exodus, all acquired much of their mathematics from Egypt, including the notion of zero. This paper will discuss a brief history of mathematics in Africa. Starting with the Lubombo bone and the Ishango bone, I will then present Egyptian mathematics and end with a discourse on Muslim mathematics in African. Most histories of mathematics devote only a few pages to Africa and ancient Egypt. Generally, they ignore the history of mathematics in Africa. Starting with the Lubombo bone and the Ishango bone, I will then present Egyptian mathematics and end with a discourse on Muslim mathematics in African. Most histories of mathematics devote only a few pages to Africa and ancient Egypt. Generally, they ignore the history of mathematics in Africa and give the impression that this history either did not exist or, at least, is not knowable. Due to archaeological evidence, we know that the African people were the first people in the world to use counting to keep track of their things, or time. Around 35,000 BC in South Africa, the earliest known tally stick was made and was left in Lubombo Cave. 29 notches were cut into the stick. We don't know exactly what they were counting. Some people think they were counting the days from one moon phase to the next, but it could have been something else, just as well. Now, what we do see is that by 35,000 BC, people in South Africa had the idea of keeping records by making marks. The Lubombo bone is a baboon fibula with a set of 29 notches carved in it. Archaeologists believe these marks are evidence of a primitive calendar, measuring either the lunar or the menstrual calendar. This artifact is incredibly important for Unders. Many chemists believe chemistry became a proper science in the 18th century. The investigation of air by Antoine Lavoisier, France, the discovery of oxygen by Joseph Priestley, England, and the new scientific language of chemistry all played a part. The history of chemistry represents a time span from ancient history to the present. By 1000 BC, civilizations used technologies that would eventually form the basis of the various branches of chemistry. Examples include the discovery of fire, extracting metals from ores, making pottery and glazes, fermenting beer and wine, extracting chemicals from plants for medicine and perfume, rendering fat into soap, making glass, and making alloys like bronze. The proto-science of chemistry, alchemy, was unsuccessful in explaining the nature of matter and its transformations. However, by performing experiments and recording the results, alchemists set the stage for modern chemistry. The history of chemistry is intertwined with the history of thermodynamics, especially through the work of Willard Gibbs. A 100,000-year-old ochre processing workshop was found at Blombos Cave in South Africa. It indicates that early humans had an elementary knowledge of chemistry. Paintings drawn by early humans consisting of early humans mixing animal blood with other liquids found on cave walls also indicate a small knowledge of chemistry. Science is playing an increasingly important role in sub-Saharan Africa. A number of new initiatives and organizations are helping to promote chemistry in education and industry, as Helen Carmichael finds out. There's a growing recognition in sub-Saharan Africa that better chemistry could help deliver tomorrow's infrastructure. In recent years, a number of organizations and initiatives have been set up to boost chemistry's role in African education.